Hello, so in this video I'm going to show you guys how to use Google Drawing to create models. Okay, so for part of your Colligative Properties virtual lab assignment, you're asked to draw a model of salt dissolving. So there's a short video here that will explain how salt dissolves and how sugar dissolves, but I'm going to ask you guys to draw a model of this process. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is click on the space where you want to insert the drawing. So just click on this text box here on your copy, and then you're going to click Insert, and you're going to go here to Drawing, and then you're going to click on New. So that should open up this dialog box, and I'm going to show you guys some of the tools you can use to create this drawing. So in my model, I'm going to have a shape that represents a beaker or a container. So the shape that probably best represents that is just a simple square or rectangle. So I'm going to draw just a simple square or rectangle, and this represents my beaker of water. Okay. Now in this beaker of water we have our solute and our solvent, which is the water. So I'm going to add the solute particles to my water solution, and I'm going to do another shape. So if I click on this little icon here at the top, click on Shapes, and I select the circle shape, I can make a small little circle here which represents an ion. Now I'm going to choose a different color so it's easier to see. I'm going to choose this purple color, and this is going to represent my sodium ion in the sodium chloride molecule. So I'm going to make a couple copies of this by doing Control-C. So if you do Control-C, that will copy this shape, and then Control-V, we can paste. So I have different purple circles that represent my sodium ions. And I can label these components by using either a text box or an arrow. So I'm going to put an arrow to this shape, and I'm going to label this sodium, Na. And I'm going to put a little positive sign to remind myself that this sodium ion is a positive charge, because you guys saw that in the video how the sodium separates from the chlorine. So now I've got my sodium atoms, which is good. It's a great model, but now I need to also add in the chlorine ions. So for every one sodium that I have, I'm going to have one chlorine. So if I have 4 sodium in my model, then I need to have 4 chlorine. So I'm going to copy this shape, again using Control-C on your computer just to copy the shape, and paste it, only this time I'm going to change the color to represent a different atom. I'm going to make this yellow. And again, I'm going to paste 3 more shapes. Oops, those are the wrong color. Sorry, delete those real quick. This is the one I wanted to copy. And then just do Control-V to paste in some more ions. And this represents my chlorine ions that are free floating here in my water solution. Okay, so again, I'm going to label my chlorine items with a text box. This is going to be Cl negative, because those have a negative charge. So make my text box big enough. You can adjust the size here. And then everything else, these molecules, the blue represents my water. So I'm going to label the other component H2O, water. Okay, so I've got a model, looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. I've used my shapes, my colors, I've labeled the components. So now if I'm happy with my model, actually I'm going to move this closer here so we have more space. Okay, I'm happy with my model. I've labeled all the components. I'm going to click Save and Close, and notice the picture that I just drew appears right in here. So I can do the same exact kind of thing for my model of my sugar. Again, I'm going to click on the space that I want to insert the drawing. Click Insert, Drawing, New. And again, I can do the same sort of thing. I can create a shape that represents my beaker containing the water. Now, sugar is going to be a little bit different, because instead of having lots of little circles, you guys saw in the video how sugar Let's make this a red molecule. It's kind of bunched up together. So I've got different atoms. I've got carbons. I've got, oops, that's the wrong color. I've got hydrogens and I've got oxygens. So I'm going to insert another shape to represent these other atoms. But instead of being all spread out, I'm going to draw these ones clumped together. Okay? As in these big clumps, because these molecules stick together. And then I'm going to insert another circle here for my so shape, circle, and that's going to represent my hydrogen. Okay, so you can see sugar is kind of these big clumped particles that don't separate out because it's a covalent molecule. It's kind of just all one big clump. It dissolves as a unit. Okay, which is different than how my sugar dissolves. So, sorry, I'm having a little trouble resizing that. Okay, so play around with the size a little bit until you get your atoms the right size. You may have to kind of adjust it. Okay, and again, it's not perfect, but you can see this represents my sugar molecule that's all one lump. Okay, so I can use this as an example of the sugar. It's just one clump, and I'm going to label that component sucrose, or sugar. Okay, and we may have multiple clumps like this, so if you guys want to copy and paste this, you can use the select tool to select. If you hold down the control key, you can select all three shapes and copy and paste the entire shape, and again I get another clump like this. So if I control, I'll show you again. If you push control and then click on all three of these shapes in the select tool, so you click this little select tool and select all three shapes and then do control C for copy, you can get these little clumps of sugar crystals. Okay, and again, that's different than how sodium chloride dissolves. So I can label my components. This is my sugar, and then the other component I need, of course, is my solvent, the water. So again, just like I did in my other model, I'm going to label this H2O, water. And when I'm happy with my model, I can go ahead and click Save and Close. And you can see I've got my two different models here for this assignment. So make sure you guys watch the video first so you understand this model, and then answer this question: which has more dissolved particles, the salt or the sugar? So you may want to count the number of particles in your models and compare which one has more, the salt or the sugar. Why? Explain it in terms of the types of bonds. What type of bond does sodium chloride form? What type of bonds are in sugar? We've already kind of discussed that in previous units. So think about and watch this video explanation for why these two substances dissolve this way. Okay? Then once you've answered this question, you can move on to our simulation activity, which will be in this part of the assignment. And I will have another video to give you some instructions on how to do that part. So hope this helps you guys figure out how to insert drawings using those tools to create models in this virtual lab.